This entire project started with one image, this image. Language is not transparent, that's it. But when deeper thought is applied to this simple sentence, you can't help but feel moved. Realization flooded over me. This is what I wanted to achieve with my artwork. This sense of synesthetic connection between thinking brain and emotional centre. During a tutorial in 2015, it was suggested that my work would pair well with poetry. Well, I enjoyed poetry, why not look there? Finding the right poem seemed harder than imagined. When searching for poetry that would not give the impression that it was written by fairies riding unicorns, I seemed to draw a blank. Then I was introduced to T.S. Eliot's 4 quartets. These set of 4 poems moved me almost as much as Mel Buchanan's image. Eliot reminisces repeatedly about time and our understanding of it, how to obtain, in his opinion, spiritual enlightenment, living in the present moment, and death and decay, amongst other themes. Sounds like it should be quite depressing, and some of it actually really is. But the whole feeling that this poetry gives to the reader is one of inspiration, focus, and connection to nature. Having studied metaphor and the effect that it can have on the physical body for the discourse and reflection module, I knew that visual metaphor is the best way to evoke the kind of synesthetic reaction in people that I desired. And so, Kate's final major project was born. In my proposal, I stated that the aim of the project was to create a series of artworks that could be displayed as an end-of-year show in a gallery in Vienna, where I'm currently living. These pieces should be inspired by the work of T.S. Eliot, namely the 4 quartets, should address certain topics that are relevant to society today, and should use visual metaphor as the primary method of delivery. Visiting museums, art galleries and events was paramount to getting a good overview of what contemporary artists were doing right now in terms of metaphor in art, and gave me a great foundation from which to launch my own study, and to bust out some yoga in weird places too. Using texts such as Gibbs' Cambridge Handbook of Metaphor and Thought and Lakoff and Johnson's work on metaphor helped me to identify that my main method of metaphor delivery was going to be contextual metaphor, as this was the easiest in my view to create. Having seen wonderful works in museums and galleries that promoted an ecological message, but that were constructed out of toxic and ecologically unsound materials, I wanted to use only environmentally friendly, non-toxic elements to create my pieces, and managed to devise a method of creating my own textured paint using earth and soil. This also being a reference to Eliot's poetry as he ruminates on humanity's lost connection to nature. I decided that in line with Eliot's elements theme throughout his quartets, I would construct one piece for each of the 4 natural elements, and so began the search for good metaphors within his poems. The first element within the quartets is air, and in response to this, the sentence, "I said to my soul, be still," was chosen to represent this element. This sentence is actually taken from the earth element part of Eliot's poem, but I was more concerned about getting a suitable metaphor at this stage. The base metaphor for this piece was, technology is decay, and as the passage from which this sentence was taken is all about the notion of death, humanity's obsession with materialistic technology and mindfulness, I found the ethereal, dreamlike air element to be the best fit. Taking inspiration from Iris Andrzejczyk, the Austrian art prize winner from 2015, and the 1999 movie The Matrix, I attempted to show a sort of falling rain composed of words from the poem itself, mirroring the form of the deluge of information that binary code initially takes, and creating a link between traditional media and current contemporary issues. The skull being a metaphor for humanity's materialistic compulsion, and the rain metonymically representing our technological advancement that is, according to Eliot, washing away the chance of spiritual enlightenment. The second element is earth, and for this piece I enlisted the help of a friend who is a professor at the University of Vienna's geology department. With inspiration taken from Olafa Eliasson's Round Table, I attempted to create a visual metaphor based around the sentence time present and time past, taken from Bernd Norton using foraminifera or microfossils donated from the university. Using Eastern elements, Eliot often quotes Eastern philosophy in his poems and for a while considered converting to Buddhism. A mandala was created with the word now being spelled out in the central negative space. The base metaphor here being past is now, and if you think about it, when you're looking at this piece, you are looking at the word now written in fossils, so the past literally is making the now. From an incorporeal perspective, we often dwell in memories, bringing the past with us into the now and taking the present moment for granted. Thirdly was the water element, and for this one I chose the passage "Time is no healer." Eliot is suggesting here that time is ever flowing like a stream or river, and that due to this constant state of flux, one is never able to step into the same stream twice, leading to the conclusion that time cannot heal, and leading us to the base metaphor "time is painful," which is pretty clear when looking at this face. Why is it painful though? Probably because we swim against the flow so much. Eliot basically thinks we should just accept it and get on with life. I have to agree with that. Finally, the fire element. In the quartets, Eliot uses his final poem in much the same way as Dante, going through the purgatorial fires of hell, and as a sort of cleansing ritual to warn humanity of its errors. I wanted to create a metaphor that suggested something a little different and took a more scientific and yogic route, suggesting that instead of the fire being a burning fire of death, it could be representing the energetic fire of time or life, and linking it to Einstein's theory of relativity that says we are being hurled through space-time even as we sit still, and that all time exists simultaneously. The underpinning metaphor here being life is fire, but not a hot purgatorial fire, more a sort of carpe diem, life is burning like a candle every day, so you better grab the moment sort of fire. In conclusion, the main aims of the proposal have indeed been met. I created 15 pieces based on metaphor, gave an exhibition in the centre of Vienna, used mostly scientific and contemporary arguments as the underpinning theories, and saw how it felt to be a successful artist, even if it was just for one night. However, I still have to figure out where to channel my energies from now. My target audience has evolved to become more aimed at yoga folks, so I'll need to modify my work to fit in with this demographic, and the decision still remains whether to aim for galleries or to brand and market myself. What I do know is that studying these poems has served as a doorway for me to take my shamelessly yogic outlook on life and direct it into my artwork. I had never previously thought of doing that, and in fact I will continue to do so.
Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. If all time is eternally present, all time is unredeemable. What might have been is an abstraction, remaining a perpetual possibility only in a world of speculation. What might have been and what has been point to one end which is always present. Footfalls echo in the memory, down the passage which we did not take, towards the door we never opened into the rose garden. My words echo thus in your mind. But to what purpose? Disturbing the dust on a bowl of rose leaves, I do not know. Other echoes inhabit the garden. Shall we follow? Quick, said the bird, find them, round the corner, through the first gate, into our first world. Shall we follow the deception of the thrush into our first world? There they were, dignified, invisible, moving without pressure over the dead leaves.